When you think about being on stage, what's the worst that you think could happen? Don't worry, I won't ask you to share it, but I will tell you about my worst public speaking nightmare. And I can tell you about this because it actually happened to me. And it happened to me the very first time that I ever spoke in public. I was in high school, and I joined the Model United Nations. Different schools from different states each chose a different country. We researched that country for a year, and then at the end of the year, we went to a conference in another state to debate other countries, or other schools representing other countries. I was 15 years old. I had never spoken in public before. My dad bought me the first suit that I had ever owned in my life. He taught me how to tie a tie for the first time in my life. I had spent all year preparing. I was ready. So, when it was my turn to stand up and speak at the conference, I was nervous, but I knew I could do it. And I stood up, and the words just wouldn't come out. My hands were shaking, my voice was shaking. I couldn't even make eye contact. I could only look down at the paper in front of me as I started to talk. And the words came out slowly at first, and then I started to gain a little bit of confidence. I started to flow a little bit more. And then I looked up from my paper. Nobody in the audience was paying any attention to what I was saying. In fact, some of them were laughing, and I realized they were laughing at me. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Did I really look as nervous as I felt? Were my ideas that bad? Was our proposal stupid? I didn't know what to do, so I just kept talking. Eventually, someone in the audience stood up, walked up to the stage. He tapped me on the shoulder, and he whispered into my ear, "Dude, your zipper is wide open." So that was the end of my first talk. But it was the beginning of my public speaking career. In some ways, I'm lucky that I lived out my worst nightmare in my very first experience, because I knew that things could only get better. And fortunately, they did. Over the last 10 years as a teacher and teacher trainer, I've had the opportunity to stand up in front of a lot of different groups. And in this time, I've also been privileged to join TEDxHanoi as a speaker curator. This means that it's my job to help our speakers craft and deliver their best possible talks. To be honest, I still prefer to be behind the scenes rather than on stage. I probably won't be the best speaker that you hear today. I'm not the most accomplished, I'm not the most polished, I'm certainly not the best looking, but I hope that I can still give you something useful. To be honest, I'm also not going to be the most original today. Every idea that I'm going to share with you is something that I've learned from somebody else. And I'll make one more confession. I don't know what you're expecting, but I'm not really even trying to inspire you today. Right? I know that we all enjoy the warm glow and burst of energy that comes from a truly inspiring talk. But that's not my purpose today. My goal is something much simpler, much more ordinary. My goal is this. I have an idea. I think you'll find my idea useful, and I would like to share it with you as clearly and concisely as I can. And if I do my job well, this idea will be transferred from my brain to your brain. It will start to change in some way, small or maybe large, the way that you think about public speaking and the way that you act as a result. And if I do my job really well, this idea will not only be transferred from my brain to yours, but you will, in your words and actions, start to share this idea with other people. And it will change, in some way, small or maybe large, the way that they think about public speaking and the way that they act as a result. Because in my mind, this is the real goal of a talk, at least a talk in the style of TED. Most of us know the motto of TED, ideas worth spreading. And that, in essence, is what a talk is. To deliver an idea that is worth spreading in a way that really does help it to spread out into the room and beyond that room to other people. My idea is anyone can give a great talk. But you have to have a process. Now, let me be very clear. When I say anyone can give a great talk, some of you are probably thinking, well, he says anyone, but not me. He doesn't mean me. I can't give a great talk. I'm too shy, I'm too nervous, I'm too young, I'm not accomplished enough, I'm not successful enough. And I know if you're comparing yourself to those people that you see on the TED stage, on YouTube, it can be intimidating when you think about their CVs and what they've done. But let me be very, very clear. When I say anyone can give a great talk, I really do mean anyone. I mean you, and I mean you, and you, and you, and definitely you, and you. Yeah, even you. Anyone. Anyone in this room really can give a great talk. You don't need to be famous, you don't need to be wealthy, you don't need to be successful. You just need to have an idea and a process, a way of preparing. So let's imagine that you have been asked to give a talk. And let's say it's an audience, maybe about this size. And let's say your talk will be on a topic that you are familiar with, something that comes from your own knowledge and experience. And you're going to give this talk in 1 month. What will you talk about? What is your idea? And how will you start crafting that talk? How will you get ready to be on stage delivering that talk? What will you do first? What will you do next? How will you know if you're on track and if you're truly prepared to stand on stage? This is what the process is for. Having a great process helps us to break down a big goal, and sometimes a big, scary goal, into much smaller, more manageable tasks. Once we have a process, we have some degree of control. We know what we need to do. We have benchmarks, and we can see if we're making progress. And having that control can also help us to get control of our fears. We know what we need to do to prepare to give ourselves the best chance of succeeding on stage. Now, the professionals at the Global TED organization have come up with a process to help speakers craft and deliver their best talks. And this is the process that I'd like to share with you today, with a few of my own modifications in my own words. It's a very simple process. There are only 6 steps in it. But again, I think having this process, simply naming these steps, can help to give you a degree of control and a way to go about preparing whenever you are going to speak in public. Step 1 is to get into the right mindset. Chris Anderson, the global curator and owner of the TED organization, offers two different ways of looking at a talk. The first one is to think of your talk as a gift that you give to your audience, a gift in the shape of an idea, something that you think will genuinely be useful to them, something like this. The second way that he recommends you look at a talk is as a journey that you take the audience on, a journey of understanding through your idea and its implications. The key part about a journey is that you have to start where the audience is. If you're a technical specialist, if you're an expert in your field, don't go in sharing your jargon. Don't start with what you know. Start with what your audience knows. The next key step, or the next key aspect of a journey, is that you lead your audience through it step by step. Don't make your audience trust you just because you're standing on stage talking to them. Don't force them to make assumptions or jump to conclusions or take a leap of faith. Build your talk and build your idea step by step so they understand you at every stage. Now, you might notice that both of these metaphors, a talk as a gift and a talk as a journey, actually force you to start thinking about your talk not about yourself, but about your audience. And this, in my mind, is the right way to start preparing a talk. Not focused on you, not worried about how you will look on stage or how you will sound or whether the audience will like you, but actually focused on your audience and focused on what you can give to them or where you can lead them to. The next step in the process is to find your idea. At the core of every great talk is a single, powerful core idea. This is probably the most important step in the process, and maybe also the most mysterious. Some people begin crafting their talk with an idea already in mind. They have it fully formed. They know exactly what they want to say and what message they want to communicate. Most of us, however, need to take a little bit of time to find this idea. We know we have something to say, but we're not quite sure what yet. And you can go about finding your idea in lots of different ways. Some people make a mind map, some people journal, some people meditate, have conversations with friends, do research, some combination of all those things. But whatever you need to do, give this step some time. Work on your idea. Make sure you have one single clear idea that's powerful enough to hold your talk and is something that you genuinely believe in. Because if you don't believe in your idea, no one in your audience will believe in it either. How do you know when you've reached your good idea? Again, it's hard to say, but you should be able to express it in one clear, simple, powerful sentence. Once you have your core idea, the next step is to actually organize your talk, to outline it. How will you communicate your idea to your audience? How will you explain it? How will you show them its implications? Will you tell a personal story? Will you show images or visuals to help you get your point across? And then you need to put these ideas into a sequence. Remember, your talk is a journey, and it needs to flow logically step by step so that your audience can follow you throughout the whole talk. At this stage, you should be looking to have a short outline, maybe just one page, but with very clear step-by-step sections or beats to your talk. Once you have this outline, the next step is to script your talk. And now this is the part that some people are resistant to. When I say script your talk, I really do mean write it out word for word. Every single word. Now, whether you deliver it word for word or not doesn't necessarily matter. You will probably not deliver your talk exactly the way it's written on the page. But writing out your talk forces you to think very carefully about the language that you're going to use to get your ideas across. It also forces you to think about the beginning of your talk and the end of your talk, because it's important to have a strong start and a powerful finish. And it will also force you to think about the transitions between the different sections of your talk. In my experience, whenever you see someone who's on stage and gets a little bit stuck or doesn't remember what to say next, that's because they haven't thought enough about their transitions. They haven't thought about how they will actually get from one part to the next. And scripting really helps with that. The next stage, I think, is quite obvious. Rehearse your talk. Now, how much do you need to rehearse? Well, it depends. But the answer is you probably need to rehearse more than you think. Especially if you're new to public speaking, the better you rehearse, the more deeply you feel your talk inside of you, the more confident and the more comfortable you will feel on stage. Rehearse at home, rehearse by yourself, rehearse with your phone, record yourself, watch it back, focus on your intonation, your body language, your gestures, how you stand on the stage. Right? Work on all aspects of your talk. Personally, I like to rehearse my talk while I'm driving my motorbike. If I can deliver my talk while navigating traffic in Hanoi, then I know I'll probably be okay when I get on stage. It's important when you think about this process and these steps. It's really key to give yourself time for each step in the process. Don't move on to your outline until you have your clear idea. And don't move on to your script until you have a clear, solid outline. This will actually save you a lot of time in the long run. However, do remember that this process is, in some ways, a cycle. You may find, as you're organizing your talk, that you need to go back and think more about your core idea. Or that when you're scripting, you need to start moving things around in your outline to make it flow better. That's okay. It's all part of the process. Now, some of you might remember that I promised you 6 steps to a great talk, and I've only shown you 5. I hope this process will be useful to you, and I hope these steps will give you a guide and a framework for the next time you have to speak in public. But whatever you do, please make sure that you do not forget step number 6. Right. Thank you very much.